After this very enlightening session, ladies and gentlemen, what lies the next on our rooster is a fantastic panel discussion. And let me tell you, it's all about synergizing metering, HES Scalability and MDMS integration. The moderator for the session is Mr. Amit Sharma, the Director, Technology Consulting, Ernst & Young LLP. And our panelists are Mr. Mohan Gupta, Vice President, APJ Utilities Industry Advisory, SAP, Mr. Santosh Kumar Jain, DGM Grid India, erstwhile POSOCO, Mr. Swapnadeep Banerjee, Solution Architect at Trilliant Networks, PTE, Mr. RamaKrishna Anavazala, CEO and Managing Director, Eficaa, Ensmart Solutions Private Limited, Mr. Shiv Kaushik, Executive Director, Global Business Development and Branding, Inventive Software Solutions Private Limited. Let me tell you a little about our moderator and the panelists. Mr. Amit Sharma, with over 2 decades of experience, currently works as the director with Ernst & Young, is one of the key members of core group of professionals who significantly contributed to embark smart grid and smart metering journey in India from its early days. His contribution to power sector by generating pragmatic ideas, leveraging disruptive technologies to devise feasible solutions to effectively handle relevant and perennial problems. Besides leading marquee engagements in India, Amit Sharma has also led national flagship programs in Europe, Africa, Malaysia, UAE and other Middle East countries, along with Bangladesh and Nepal. Mr. Mohan Gupta, customer-focused senior professional with 18 plus years of experience in utilities industry. In his current role as regional industry leader for utilities in APJ, Mohan is responsible for go-to-market, business development, demand generation, partner enablement, and adoption of SAP solutions across the region. Mr. Santosh Kumar Jain, with 28 years of experience in the Indian power sector, joined Power Grid in 1996 and served up to February 2017 for 21 years, worked as head of MSH Maintenance Service Hub and carried out O&M of 220 kV GetCo base and Navsari GIS and data communication of Power Grid base in Kakrapar. Expertise in handling right-of-way issues, obtaining statutory approvals with CEA, defense, forest, aviation, power line crossing, etc. Mr. Swapnadeep Banerjee is a senior technical consultant in Trilliant Networks India Private Limited and is responsible for pre-sales and solution architecture for product solutions for growth of business in India and Asia Pacific. Mr. RamaKrishna Anavazala, expert to plan, deploy, and lead all lean activities that will produce significant cost saving through productivity, quality, waste reduction improvements, and improving business processes. Experience with agile development methodologies such as Scrum and XP. And experience in continuous integration, having led projects to access DevOps maturity assessments to help give high-level change adoption plan, high-level maturity assessment score and benefits case. Mr. Shiv Kaushik, Energy and Utility Technology Expert, HES MDM and Unified Billing System, Global Power Tech Business Expert. Shiv Kaushik continues to be a driving force in the realm of business and technology, inspiring others with his unwavering commitment to excellence, innovation, and collaborative leadership. Please let us welcome the moderator and the panelists on the stage. Let's give them a huge round of applause and some good energy. Let's begin the discussion for synergizing metering, HES Scalability, and MDMS integration.
Introduction of the panelist. In fact, that is bestowed a bigger responsibility on this stage to make this session or next 45 minutes a mesmerizing experience for the entire audience. But before we start this session, I would like to congratulate Aayera for conducting this unrivaled initiative for power sector and taking out this journey for making the enlightenment and the deeper understanding of the solutions, especially in the smart metering one. So a big round of applause to Aayera and entire team. And besides this, with all the gems sitting with me on this stage, we also congratulate for each one of you present here, taking up your time. This shows your manifestation of your commitment and dedication to make your honest contribution towards the sector growth with a deeper understanding and enhancement of the sectorial perspective with a bigger picture in line. A big round of applause to everyone present here. So, taking this session ahead, the one thing, or I'd say every sector, every business, every institution is currently thinking on two questions in front of them. Are we shaping our future or future is shaping us? That is a conundrum we all are facing, whether it's a business, it's sector, or it's an institution. The answer of this was given by Mukesh Ambani in 2021 Reliance AGM when he spoke those 4 golden words. Data is the new oil. We all would agree from a sector side, from a business side, from an institution side. Yes, data is not only the new oil, it's the oxygen for every business currently. If we want to make a bigger jump, bigger, I'd say leap in a growth, then certainly data is the key. And with the smart metering, thanks to Ministry of Power coming up here, with their ambitious scheme of RDSS, we have this transformational journey through a smart meter, which is providing a utility, a beautiful, I'll say, juncture where they are coming up with a huge custodian of a huge chunk of data. So how to leverage this data, this is the key thing. And certainly this would be a real oil and oxygen for any business, not only with the power sector one. So with this thing, in fact, taking everyone in sync on this, my panelists are from a different sectors, I'll say, as a different stakeholder, they are contributing the mindsets, the experience they are carrying up to take this session with a much more meaningful, insightful session. That is because we have panelists from a POSOCO, we have industry people, we have, I'll say, solution partner. So you'll be having a perfect blend of all the experience coming up on this stage, which will be taking up this journey. So I'll say first question I'll put to my panelists on the data part. In fact, I would like my first panelist to answer on this data set, Mohanji. Mohanji, so we all are talking about the data, huge data coming up through the smart metering journey. So data is a quite a new thing for any sector, any business, any institution to digest and think about a bigger picture on this. So I would like to request your view on what are the primary challenges any utility may encounter when attempting to monetize smart meter data, particularly considering the data privacy, security and the regulatory compliance already in place.
Thank you, Amit, for the question, and thank you, Aayera, for the opportunity to be on this esteemed panel. I also talked about this topic yesterday in my presentation. The biggest challenge for utilities is, terabytes and terabytes of data, they're expecting to come from smart meters, different IoT devices they are getting installed. But if we cannot convert that data into insights, reliable insights. It has no meaning. It is just a cost for utilities, right? And the first step for any utility is to make sure the quality of data that they have in their system, and it's not just smart meter data, right? When they give new connection to a customer, or when the customers move from one house to another house, how diligently utilities are keeping the data up to date about their customers, how much they know about the customer is equally important. Unless they know, just having smart meter data is not going to suffice and give benefit to the customer or improve customers' experience. And it's not just public sector utilities in India which are facing this challenge. Even private utilities, there's a lot of issues in basic data quality that they have in their systems. And I'm working with few customers here where whenever we talk about digital transformation and these new experiences, digital experiences for the customers, the leadership team asks these basic questions. First, solve the data quality issue for us, right? Then we will talk about these use cases. Otherwise, it's not going to lead anywhere. And it's an ongoing activity. And I'll give one example. So I have a customer, we talked about these use cases which Mr. Bansal also presented. But if utility doesn't know, if the customer who's living there is a 24-year-old working professional or a 75-year-old senior citizen, the experience is going to be very different, right? How much of a consumer app and the way a senior citizen consumes the app or information is very different from somebody who is, born with all these applications in hand. So these basic data sets, are missing right now. And then typically what happens whenever, utilities start on these transformation programs, smart metering programs, in the early stages, of course, there's focus, right? You correct the data at one point of time, but it is not part of the culture of the utility. 6 months, 12 months, 18 months down the line, when you're getting to normal day-to-day operations, you're again, not keeping your data up to date, and 24 months later, you're back to square one, same problem, data is messed up. So that's the first step, I would say. Keeping your data quality in check and knowing your customer, knowing your customer's profile, who lives, what kind of family there is, if they move cities, they change jobs. There are, technologies available, solutions available in the market which will help you create a 360-degree of view of the customer and the families living around. And then, once you have that intelligence built in, then providing, benefits of smart meters, IoT devices, smart homes, there's no end to it. Yeah. So I'll just take a pause here, Amit, and we can continue on this.
Yeah.
Discussion.
So Mohan, in fact, I would share a different perspective here. Under RDSS scheme, we all are talking about a 250 million smart meter installation. I see it from a different lens. I see it as a 250 million smart meters are working as a connecting 250 million households. So how about thinking on a data monetization part and the possible challenges in the future, from a future lens, you see the proposition for a 250 million household data available for a disposal with the certain restrictions from a regulatory side about their uses. How do you see the futures taking up on the data part?
So, very good question, Amit. So, in Indian market or from regulatory point of view, we have, data privacy, data regulation rules which are coming up, but they're still not black and white. There's still a lot of gray area. The way the data can be used by the utilities, by enterprises, it's still not 100% clear. So it's still left to individual utilities how they manage it, right? And that's a big challenge, and that's also boils down to the question of trust. How will a customer trust sharing information if they know they're going to get calls at 2 o'clock in the night from different vendors or messages, which are very frustrating sometimes. We all get it, right? So that's conundrum for all utilities. But if we have the right vision and right value set in our mind, this can be easily overcome. And there are opportunities where, it's not just about consumers' consumption data or information about the family members. You can actually trace complete lifestyle of the customers, which goes beyond just, energy related services. So I'll give one example. So in European market, we have few utilities customers who are providing these smart metering services for end customers, and one very interesting use case. So there are some customers who have got, let's say, 4, 5, 6 houses for rental purposes, or they just put it on Airbnb during tourist season, and guests come in, they check in themselves. There's no one there to contact them. They just check in and they check out after 1 day, 2 day, whatever their duration of stay is, and then few hours later, once the guests check out, cleaning services happen, and then the house is ready again for another guest to come and check in, right? So for these customers, the one example use case we created was, if the owner of these properties, if he or she can track, from consumer app only, that for this house, the guest was supposed to check out at 9 o'clock in the morning today, but the electricity consumption is still going on. The heating system is still on at 10 o'clock. They can see real time. They don't need to call or check or send somebody to physically check whether guests have checked out or not. They can see from the app the customer has not checked out, right? Another example, same house. If after checkout, let's say at 12 o'clock, cleaning services company needs to come and clean the house to make it ready for next guests, they can track, at 1 o'clock, if there's no vacuum cleaner running and, there's no change in consumption, owner knows the cleaning services have not arrived today, right? So all these use cases, they're very prevalent, and these are the use cases which are going to engage customers and help, both utilities and customers to take benefit and reap benefits of smart meter. This is just one example I'm sharing. But the key point for enabling all these is, how do we ensure we have the right data in our systems, and how do we make sure it is used diligently without breaching the privacy rights of customers. We also have, many utilities, even in India, they're talking about if they can share this customer data with, let's say, banks, with financial institutions which are giving loans to the customers, if they can identify, it's a huge use case, right? So if I, as a honest, regular paying customer, I always pay the bill in time, right? It's a credit score, kind of a credit score for a financial institution to decide whether they want to give me a car loan or not, right? But can I share this data as a utility? Can a utility share my data? How much I pay? What is my average bill? When do I typically consume? What days I'm in the house? What days I'm not in the house? To another institution is a big question mark. Typically you can't. But there are now, utilities which are even coming up with more innovative ideas, how they can, benefit and upsell to their customers without sharing this data to third-party entities, but still leverage this information and provide better services through, ecosystem and partner channels. So all these scenarios are coming up, but yeah, it's a very fine balance between not breaching the regulatory compliance and trust of the customer, but at the same time providing better services.
In fact, Mohan very rightly said. In fact, you extended the point which Rajesh Bansalji made in earlier presentation. I'll say garbage in and garbage out would not make any sense, however strong your tool is. And then the important point which you made on a regulator, I hope there is no one from the regulator side, that India has a, I'll say, perennial problem with the regulator, most of the regulators in all the sectors working as a paper tiger only. But I hope that situation would change. And in fact, I'll move to my next panelist, Shiv. Shiv, since Mohan has already made this point on the data quality, there is from an industry side, in fact, and the theme of this session is the synergy between the data, MDM and HES. So as a, I'll say from an industry side, I would like to understand your view, or you share your view on with our audience, that how you feel that what is the future trend you foresee in the current scenario, evolving scenario of the smart metering landscape, and how you see that the regulatory will keep the pace with you guys, keep changing technology, and with the amalgamation of with the disruptive technologies, AI, blockchain, things are coming up, how the data sanctity would be maintained, considering the regulator will work in their own mode of working.
Yeah, good morning, all of you. My name is Shiv Kaushik. I grew up in IT companies throughout my careers, handling energy and utilities. So mostly data related activities. So in fact, HES plays a very important role, and I visualize and dream that the way mobile phone journey had been from last 15-20 years. I think why mobiles had been so successful is because there were a lot of good applications on it. And same thing, smart meters will also has to follow the journey that, a lot of smart apps need to be developed. And HES is one of the apps that, kind of, which can connect to all meters, irrespective of who is the manufacturer. So if we can create that kind of a interoperability with the good HES system, that any kind of meter can get connected, and the network on which the network management system, which is being essential part of HES, is capable enough to ensuring that the all meters are in network and the data flow is continuous. So the scalability of HES is also very, very important, that need to be tested, because if you have tested, let's say, around 10,000 meters or 50,000 meters, the HES need to have the capability that it can handle millions of meters, the network also, and the technology to pull the data. So scalability plays a very important role. And the second part of your question was
Rapidly changing dynamics of the technologies.
right. So I think this journey of rapid changes is very important. If you look at from a software perspective, that earlier maybe we used to have different manufacturer for hardware, different manufacturer for applications. In the initial days, they were same also, like if you take example of IBM kind of a company, they used to manufacture the hardware also, applications also. But slowly you find a lot of people came with very good capabilities on the application side, somebody came on the OS side. So similarly, on this side also, you need very light applications. The application journey is also changing. I mean, you don't need a very bulky applications today. You don't need very resource hungry applications today. And the application paradigm, the way consumer thinks, adopt those applications, and the ways discoms and other people for whom the applications have been designed, they use their application, their requirements keep on changing. So there is a new concept which has come up in recent past, is called agile development. And that need to be followed, that today your requirement is like this, so tomorrow your requirement could be like this. So I mean, because the consumer behavior is changing, technology is changing, and the way we consume that data, that is also changing. So the application also need to adopt the dynamic changes. So it cannot happen that I made a process today with this application and it will follow throughout my life like this only. It will not happen. And in fact, maybe 10-15 years back, it might be considered that if you deploy ERP today, that's the end of game, and my all problems are solved. But now you find that I need very different kind of an applications. I don't need, first thing that that is important is the mobile based applications. So I mean, people, whether they are on the road or people, they are in the field or they are in office, they use more mobile. So is my application mobile friendly? So that kind of a thing, whether it is HES, MDM or billing system, all these applications need to be agile in nature, that so that they can accommodate the sudden changes and the dynamics that are happening. They should be able to get that change request quickly done. So that is, the very important factor in today's world as far as applications are concerned.
In fact, Shiv, we can resonate the pain which you also want to highlight with your industry, because like we say that cyber secure today does not guarantee a cyber secure tomorrow. It keeps a incremental, regular or consistent change. Likewise, the evolution of interoperability from an industry side, on a HES or MDM side, that is equally important to sustain this pace of a smart metering rollout, not only in India, but of course at a global level. And the kind of technology dynamics keep changing up. You guys need to be always I'll say, on your heels to take this journey consistently ahead and make the improvement, I'll say, incremental changes in your solution. So how you find it difficult to manage all these things, considering that the global dynamics are different, Indian scenario is different, there are different maturity standard of the utility. Bansalji made a point about Gujarat consumer. They are in Gujarat, consumer is making a I'll say resistance on this. I see it from a different lens. The more matured consumer, they'll ask 5 more questions, and compared to the other, without demeaning any consumer from a northeast side, but the more educated consumer will ask or will have a question or better questions which industry need to answer, because one size fit for all approach does not work. So how industry is ready with this?
I'll say asking questions is good. Unless you don't ask questions, the changes will not happen. And I'll give you a very small example. Earlier when you used to visit a doctor, whatever doctor medicine has prescribed, you just follow blindly and take it. Today, when doctor prescribes any medicine, you check on Google what's the composition of this medicine. And you ask the doctor why this has been prescribed to me. Sometimes doctor get irritated also, maybe the old school of thoughts, but many new school of thoughts of doctors, they'll appreciate that, my patient is, educated enough. He knows what composition can make changes. In fact, the person himself is a better doctor as far as the doctor is concerned. He knows what composition is going to impact on him. Same thing I'm saying, the way engagement with the consumer, the way engagement with the discoms, the way engagement with technology providers. And most important is, these dynamic changes as we talk, there are technologies available today, and because of which I think the application developers are fast able to respond to those changes in a quick time, that they can adopt those changes in their applications and make those applications and fulfill those questions which has been asked in a more rapid manner. So tools are available today to use those tools. I mean, today people talk about low code, no code, anybody can become an application developer if he has some kind of an intent and architecture and flow clear to his mind that what is that is required. So I think technology has also changed quite rapidly in last 10-15 years. Today the tools which are available in terms of for the development, and the people thinking in terms of the globalization that has happened, that if that is happening in Western world, why can't it happen here? And in fact, many of the things I think India has taken a very big lead in terms of whether it is people engagement. I mean, whether our UPI app or whether any other thing. And I think my point is that unless we create, I fully agree with Bansalji's thought that, we create more and more smart apps, we are not able to get smart meter success in the country or anywhere in the world. If we just use it for the meter reading and consumption data, I am sure there will be a lot of challenges and resistance from the consumer also. So important is that as a technology provider, if we are able to make those excellent consumer engagement, service provider engagement with those rapidly changing requirements of the customers in a quick turnaround time, I think we will be able to, in coming time, we'll be able to make apps and the smart metering rollout more successful.
That's great. So, in fact, I'll take a takeaway from you that agile application is equally important with the agility of the application provider side.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, in fact, I'll move to our another panelist, next panelist, Santosh ji. Santosh ji, in fact, I see a challenge to grid people with the evolution of smart metering one, because smart metering provides a direct gateway which influence or probably a control somehow to the grid's operation and the, I'll say, scalability and the maintenance. How you see it is a challenge, or I'll say it is quite manageable thing?
Yeah, thanks Amit ji. Actually, I am from power sector domain, and most of you are, I think, IT professionals. And for me, if I am from old school of thoughts, so it's a black box, technology black box for me. And for you, power sector is a bit black box to you, right? So here we are sitting because we need to have a sangam of power sector domain and the IT specialist, right? So basically during this all discussion, I came to know, in fact, I realized that there is lot of say communication gap between the power sector professionals and the smart meter passionate persons, right? So talking about the grid, that how we are say, in fact, IoTs and all. There was some discussion about that smart meter or billing will be higher side, right? If we deploy the smart meters. If at all I am sitting here and imagine that you all are the dummies, right? So I will be only delivering the things and you will not be taking it because you are dummies. If you are speaking back, then only I will come to know the response, and that is what I call demand response, right? So unless and until you are giving me the feedback, I cannot answer your questions, right? So these all smart meters, etc., the cost you give away that from 2024, the electric consumption has gone twice and the GDP has grown 4 times. So see the difference, right? So smart metering is the first step only, right? And we need to think about say internet of electric vehicles, internet of say energy internet, we need to think about that. We need to think about digital technology. I would like to quote one of the examples that in 2019, we have authored a paper that how to use the blockchain technology in power sector, and that was presented in IIT Mumbai. So at that time, there were many less takers that nobody can imagine how you can utilize the blockchain technology in the power sector, right? So one thing from the grid perspective, I would like to say that earlier we were having different grids, say northern grid, western grid, eastern grid, right? Now we are having one nation, one grid. Without adding a single megawatt of generation, we got say lot of power in our country just by interconnecting the grids. And there is a concept like security constraint economic dispatch. You might have heard about that, right? So you can imagine that in one area of our country, there was lot of cheaper power, but we are not able to get it because there was no interconnections. Similar thing might happen with the smart grid, smart meter also. If we are having the smart grid connection or smart meter connection, then we can understand the pains of the end consumer. Now it will not be a, say, one-sided grid or dumb grid or deaf grid, what I call, definitely it will be a communicable grid. So communication is very much required in this field. So for that, after implementing SCED, and now we are going towards the MBED also, that market-based economic dispatch also. Earlier the power of solar power or RE power was, say, 20 rupees per unit. Now it has come down to 2 rupees, 3 rupees, 4 rupees, right? With the advent of, say, electric vehicles, etc., we need a communicative grid, not the deaf and dumb grid. So for that, we need to have the smart grids, because the more and more awareness is there, then the grid operator will be able to understand the pains of all customers. We are having the SCADA in our control room, right? So it is really a great power, because as an end consumer, you may not be knowing that what is your requirement, but as a grid operator, because we are having the visualization, we can assess the demand of the consumer, we can assess the electricity market price also. We are having energy only markets in our country, right? So we need to connect all those features like end consumer to grid operator and grid operator to electricity market, and also the forecasting agencies also, right? So once all these are interconnected, automatically this AI, ML and other technologies like blockchain, etc., might come to our rescue. So for that, we need to think about that, and we should not think like we were discussing earlier with Amit sir, that there should be one regulatory sandbox also, that private parties, etc., should come to this grid and understand the grid. Unless and until they prove their technology, they should not get connected to this particular network also. So for this thing, we can, for say power sector, we can switch over to digital twin technology also, right? So we need to get some virtual power plants as well, so that the end consumer should not be, should not worry about the, say, prices fluctuation in the market. Automatically, the virtual power plant operator will definitely help you out in managing your electricity needs, and that too at a very low price or energy market price.
That's, yeah. So before I'll come to the next question, I would like Shiv, you want to take
Yeah, I think very important point Mr. Jain has raised is the communication gap between IT and power sector. IT technologies, if you talk, there is a fundamental difference. First of all, IT is an enabler to the business. The electrical technology fundamentally has been designed as a one-way communication, right? Electricity flows from, let's say, generator to home, whether it is industrial or residential or any commercial. It's a one-way technology. Whereas digital technology or IT technology had always been fundamentally is a two-way communication, right? If you talk of any network, even in the network, the two devices talk to each other, yes, I am there. He will say, yes, I am there. So that communication is very, very important. And I think with the digital involvement into the power sector, I think I have been involved from last 30 plus years with almost all entities, whether it is grid or whether it is generators or whether it is hydro or discoms. And what I believe is that I think this digital part is more of an enabling to the power sector. We are not as expert on the power sector, but we are expert on the digital technology. And I think the way power sector is also evolving is going towards more and more digital in nature. Whether it is our smart grid or whether it is smart metering, this is all two-way communication which is happening. And I think you will find that, that communication gap will slowly and slowly get vanished.
In fact, Shiv, I would be more pleased here sitting on this side of table now, because as a consultant in my role, I've always seen that the IT industry people is saying this thing, that there is a gap from the sector side, and sector people is always complaining on this thing. And as I'll say sandwich we consultant get us a sandwich out of this. But thankfully, I'm on the other side now. But sir, Santosh sir, I need your view on this. You said out one country, one grid thing. So what are the other strategies you would propose, or I'd say you have in your mind for a resilience and the sustainability of the grid operation with the, I'll say, changing the dynamics of with the disruptive technologies coming up. So how, what are the other strategies you are thinking? We are keen to understand or listen from you.
Basically, when you are talking about resiliency, resiliency means how fast your system could recover from the faulty condition, right? So, again, I will stress on my point that unless and until the end consumer is contributing in communicating its own, say, pains, right? Whenever we are connected with smart meter and say whatever sort of communication, two things will happen. There will be demand response and grid operator, okay, you can imagine that it's a big boy of this power sector, but he is also in trouble at some point of time, right? Because in morning hours you can see that from 8 to say 16 hours we are having ample solar power and we are not having the battery storage technologies, right? And as an end consumer, if you are proposing a business model like say through peak shaving things, you can say that in the in some part of the day the power price is 2 rupees or 3 rupees, and in evening peak it goes up to 20 rupees. Or sometimes if you are going in the high price market, it might go to 40 rupees as well. So we are having some ancillary services in our system. Ancillary service systems are basically the gas plants that are very costly and that are really required in the peak hours in the evening. So if at all end consumer is contributing in this demand response mechanism by say suppose when I was here I was thinking that the AC is very cold. So we can say up the temperature of that particular air conditioner so that in that particular time, if we are having the control of say 100 or thousands of air conditioners along a block, we can with this technology AI and ML, we can switch off or we can say temporarily up the temperature of that particular air conditioner, and that will allow us to shave the peak for which we are paying additional say price. If the end consumer is made aware, if you are fully connected to the system, if the end consumer is made aware, in that particular 1 hour, he can plan for an evening walk also, because he is getting some incentive for not using the power at that particular time. So in that case, the end consumer can come to the rescue of the grid operator, and after the load forecasting, like in the smart meter scenario or in the energy internet environment, every consumer is connected to the electricity market, to the grid operator, and to forecasters, and also the electric vehicles, which I call generally floating storage, that can also come to the rescue of this grid. So everybody can contribute for getting all those solutions, right? But the communication, that means smart metering, is very well required despite the cost. Because right now you might be feeling the cost, but nowadays like telecom industry, there should be 99.9% availability we are aspiring. And now every consumer, if at all electricity goes down, then he is ready to pay any price for that. So now the people are not going after the cost, they are going after the time. And that's what is GDP that I mentioned earlier. Okay, so if you consume twice power, you are getting 4 times business. And if you are purchasing an electric vehicle, you are using it as a business model. If you are giving the smart meter to the end consumer, they can say reduce their consumption as well, and they can help the grid as well. So there are a lot of business models if you think in that way. Don't go in the age-old things. You have to understand the pains of Gen Z also, so that because they are not after money, they are after time. If they need to travel to their hometown, they will not prefer train. They will prefer the flight because they will save 1 day in that particular time. And if we are watching some videos also, they will not go for one time speed. They will go to 1.5 time speed for the lectures also, so that they can save the time. So that is, that we have to understand, and we should come out of the old things and we should adopt the new things.
In fact, very rightly said Santoshi. In fact, the three panelists has put up a real question to RamaKrishna ji, to you. In fact, I'll say you take your very close by panelist comment on the data thing. So on the data accuracy part, I would like to understand your view on the data accuracy and the integrity, especially in the terms of the integration of the smart meter, HES and the MDM1. So how you see, and what are the future trends you see, how the things are evolving up on this? Because we all are having a similar view, common view, that the data will be a soul of entire system going forward.
Yeah, I think very true. Once again, it is good afternoon or good morning still, everyone. Okay, rightly he had started the story with the data is the oil, okay, to drive the engines of the modern society. So yes, it is the holy grail as we go along. But what is that holy grail? Is it sacrosanct? Is it real? Is it actually what it is supposed to be? Is it manipulated? How do we come to know? Yes, in the smart grid world, we do have our checks and balances as options we try to put and then try to check them. Of course, more than that, we can even try to put the checks and balances wherever possible. Right from the cleansing of the data, then storing it properly, masking it properly, and then trying to display on a role-based access kind of a thing, and then to ensure that we adhere to the security laws, whether the DPDP, whatever has come out, the data privacy and the data Protection Act which has come out. Yeah, it is a good summation of whatever is happening across the globe. I mean, whether it is Europe or US, the data should be sacrosanct. So what do we have to do as we go along? The modern world, what do they seek? Or how do we actually try to give you right from the hindsights, insights, or the foresights to the data? I mean, the foresight is what we are actually looking from the AI treatment that we are going to give. That means we are going to give a prescriptive kind of an approach to the whole thing. That means whether taking the cue from the DR or the DSM side, whether the demand to the response, how we are going to do, whether the weather is going to play a part of it, what are all the different factors which are going to affect the pattern or the usage or the electricity consumption that's going to happen as we go along. So yes, the cleansing has to happen properly, the profiling has to happen properly. I mean, earlier also there was a discussion about the consumers, okay. So we need to have the consumer indexing very rightly done. Next, the consumer profiling has to be done. Only then we can come to know the consumption of each and every household. Not that we take an assumption of the pattern, because seeing the kind of the development or the kind of wealth that we have created in the country, I think every other house has got AC or multiple ACs, or they have the EVs chargings at their home itself. So the pattern of consumption has completely changed. So the basis of the whole data would be on the profiling of the consumers. Next would be cleansing of the data as per the category of the consumers. So that is going to extrapolate and then give us the insights and then the foresights as we go along to solve the DR or the DSM issue that we have as of now. Even though we are one grid, one nation, one grid, so we are a long way to go from telling that is the data which is there in the Northeast, is it going to apply across the country, or how is it that we are going to leverage upon those insights as we go along? Yes, sir.
In fact, RamaKrishna ji, you rightly said, in fact, one thing which is emerging out, DPDP Act is the best thing happened in last 1 year for our sector, or I'll say on the data protection thing,
Yeah,
this
from,
is the...
Yeah, from a GRC perspective or a governance regulatory compliance perspective, yes, the regulatory thing has come out, but nevertheless, earlier also people used to adhere to it. But with regards to the data leakage or with regards to the data being siphoned out or being used somewhere else, I mean, there wasn't a particular law or which used to be punitive or which can be penalized of making the entities defunct or out of the system. So only this particular law has given a teeth to the departments to act or to enforce this particular law.
That's rightly said. In fact, I'll move to next panelist, last but not the least by any mean, Swapnadeep, my friend. In fact, we have witnessed the globally fastest 1 million deployment on Trilliant HES in a TNB. In fact, we were together on this. But so still I see there is still a much bigger leap we as an industry from a HES side we need to take it up, especially considering the emerging technologies going to play a pivotal role in future.
Yeah, right. Last but not the least, I mean, thank you, Amit, for this question. That's actually right. You know, I mean, we have all spoken about data, how we should take the data, how we should, you know, actually means look at the regulatory perspective of it. But we have not talked about the pace at which we are deploying the smart meters. I mean, we have 2.6 million, somewhere 1 million, somewhere 1.8 million. So these are the numbers we are talking about. And as Amit said, in 1 year, we had deployed 1 million smart meters. That's not an easy thing. Absolutely. So what we actually need to means look at the standards. The standards which needs to be defined has to be very, very strong. The DPDP or the act which RamaKrishna ji was saying should start from the meter itself. And the meter, you know, communicates to the HES via the wireless. The first leg is wireless, of course. So let us look at that. How does it connect to the HES? The standard should be there, how the meter is secured, what are the, you know, the key exchanges that we are doing, what is the security suite that we are implementing in these meters, has to be there. And then these standards has to be across all the meter manufacturers.
True, true.
And then this particular, you know, I mean, the HES should be able to talk to any meter, irrespective of its manufacturer, irrespective of its technology, irrespective of what it is trying to, you know, give you. So there are two kinds of data if we actually look at. One is the data which we need real fast time, the data which is like the alert mechanism which Bansal sir was saying, or the data which can be used by the customer in a real time, in the sense that, you know, he or she is having a energy crisis or a reverse energy flow is happening. Scenarios like this, use cases like this, they can be adhered to. And there comes, you know, there comes these private players wherein we can use this. We have so many apps now. We have Google Home, we have the, you know, Alexa is there. All these, you know, apps can be there, can be used, and we can reach out and we can check our data real time. So Santosh sir was saying about the Gen Z. Gen Zs use these apps. They are actually looking at these things and means how they are able to do. I am getting out of the house in a hurry. I am not able to switch off my everything. I should have something in the push of a button. I can switch off my meter. We can have these things. So these smart, how we, and this has to be deployed over across such a huge population, across India, length and breadth of India. That should be there. And then this data has to come to the consumer. So look at the time traveled for the data from the meter to the HES, to the MDM, to the billing system, to the consumer app. It goes a long way, actually. We should be very, very sensitive about what data we are passing through, which is the data is required by which application, how much of data do we need, and how much of data is stored. That is very much required in this context. In this way, the standards between HES and MDM should also be there. We have the IEC 61968-9 standards. We have the latest edition of version 3.0 So we should be using this. Yeah, maybe we can filter it out using some of the best practices, like using a JSON or something like that. We can make the data short, but we have to adhere to these practices so that in isolation things can be developed. Nobody is dependent on what he is developing, what she is developing.
True.
So in isolation, I can start the development. Some companies like who are willing to work in this grid, they know, okay, these are the technology, means this is what the standard is. I can start my development, and they can come up with some innovative ideas. And that means like this way, the interoperability will be there among all the players between IT and regulators, sir, or the utilities, sir.
So in fact, Swapnadeep, you started with a right note. The pace is equally important. I'll say, in fact, though we have reached out on a time limit, so we'll conclude this session. But the last concluding statement from my side would be on a pace part here is, abhi to party shuru hui hai. So let's hope that we'll have the much bigger party. In fact, it would be a kind of a jamboree we'll be having in India with us in a context of smart meter and making a cascading effect, and I'll say in a positive way, to the benefit of the entire all stakeholders, industry, and also to the grid.
So let me add a bit. Actually, we have definitely touched, most of us touched upon IT and OT. Actually, it is like IT, CT and OT. So the CT playing a crux of it, the interoperability right from different devices. We are not only talking from the meters, we even have to talk from the larger perspective of the automation devices, the RMUs, the FPIs, section analyzers and all that. So all that thing with the SIM, already taking a note of it, AMI, SP, whatever they brought out the RFP, they have brought the IEC 61968 dash all the types, dash 1, dash 100 and all that for the meter side and northbound and southbound. They have done that. So IT, CT, OT.
Absolutely, makes sense. In fact, Mohan, I won't let you put this mic off. Just a 30-second for you for concluding statement in one line.
I think this esteemed panel, I'm really honored to be here and very insightful. Lot of discussion. I think this should continue. Yeah, it's not just one-off, and I think we should have more and more such opportunities to talk about the industry and what's going on. Yeah.
Certainly.
Thank you.
Sir, we won't leave you without a concluding statement.
So I will say that the way any journey of mobile phone is very important. आप किसी ने कोई भी मैन्युफैक्चरर है, एंड्रॉयड सिस्टम ने ना बड़ा सबको एक उसमें लेके आ गए हैं. तो ऐसा ही एक सिस्टम अपने मीटरिंग के लिए भी चाहिए कि जो विच बिकम्स एन एंड्रॉयड ऑफ स्मार्ट मीटर्स, और ये सारी इंटरऑपरेबिलिटी की प्रॉब्लम खत्म हो जाएगी. कि एक जो फंडामेंटल डिफरेंस है, आई ऑलवेज से दैट द वे electrical companies think to a problem and the way a technology digital company think to a problem is different. पहले क्या होता था कि सब कुछ मीटर में ही बना देना है भैया, और मैं एप्लीकेशन भी मीटर में डाल दूंगा, ये भी सब कुछ कर दूंगा, मेरे मीटर में ही सब जाके चेंज होगा. But I think that fundamentally has to change. The enterprise architecture, the way any other in telecom has happened or any other banking has happened, your meter is an end device. It is supposed to do certain things and let it do that thing only. Let everything happen from the back end. That architecture is going to, change the way I think all the problems, whether it is of interoperability or, any other challenge that is coming in terms of, connecting to the meters. So that will solve the problem.
Yeah. So actually, Amit, to actually answer, you asked a very good question, that are we driven by data or is data driving us? So what Shiv has said about the mobile revolution, it is basically the users, how they use the mobile phone, that has forced the company to change.
Absolutely.
So in essence, how the consumers are using the electricity now is forcing the regulators, forcing the discoms, forcing all this, the HES, MDM, all the AMI partners, we are being forced to change ourselves. We were talking about AI ML, sir. I mean, 2.6 million or 5 million devices have to be, the data has to be gathered. I mean, if we don't have the data, that how was this meter communicating in last 24 hours, it is impossible to gather the data within the SLAs that has been defined. Forget SLAs. I mean, we are now doing daily billing. So these daily billings cannot be possible if we are not reaching to these devices using AI ML, if we don't know how are they communicating. So basically the data that means we are being driven by the data. The data has to be there.
Absolutely, absolutely. Santosh ji, just a quick 30-second time as a concluding remark.
Actually, I missed one point. हमको हर चीज़ का ना बैकअप होना जरूरी है. Recently we had a crowd strike type of attack. So if we are proceeding, say 10 steps ahead, we need to say that if one failure can put us 10 steps back also. So we need to have backup and immediate switching to the another source. Like we are in Green Day, we are having the backup control center at different location for each control center, like WRLDC, ERLDC and that's one. So हर एक का backup हमने एक दूसरी city में रखा हुआ है ताकि in case of any disaster we can be able to switch over to that particular thing. So that is very important. And again, I would like to quote the dialogue of one movie like Jurassic Park, first version. उसमें बोला था खर्चे में कोई कमी नहीं की गई है इसलिए इतना बड़ा बना है. तो we need not to think about the expenses. We need to think beyond our expenses because we need to cater not only to India but we need to say global south. Every country we need to cater. So that way we should have our approach. We should think 10 years from now. कॉस्ट के बारे में नहीं सोचना है, ये कंज्यूमर के दिमाग में भी डालना है. ठीक है, थैंक यू.
In fact, this statement could have come, Santosh ji, from your side only. And as an industry, we are glad with this statement. And yes, of course, the overall objective is to unlock the true value, true potential of a smart metering. Then only we can justify everyone's role here in this smart metering ecosystem.